Welcome to GrowTech. This is a place where masters gather to transform the ordinary into masterpieces. And today, we are at the tomato section. Tomato is a crop that we harvest and sell, and I realized that almost in every household we consume tomatoes. It is one of the crops that to produce is very technical, as people say it, but it's also a very simple crop to produce. And so today I want to talk about one of the management practices of tomatoes, and that is pruning. So we are at the Green Campak farm, and pruning is what we're going to talk about today. I've been pruning and I'm continuing to prune, and someone will ask, why should we prune tomatoes? Now, there are two types of tomatoes to start with. There are those tomatoes that are supposed to be supported in what we're calling staking, and they can grow very tall. Those ones are called indeterminate tomatoes. Then we have those tomatoes that they don't grow tall, they produce flowers at the same time, they produce the fruits at the same time, and harvesting is done at once and you start afresh. Those are what we are calling the determinate tomatoes. So when it comes to pruning, pruning helps in many things, or in facilitating production in a number of ways. One is with regard to spraying. When you look at spraying, every part of a plant is supposed to be reached by the pesticide or the fungicide that you are using to control diseases and pests in a crop. For instance, in tomatoes, when they are so bushy, you look at the tomatoes and everywhere, like this one here, look at how bushy it is. It is so bushy. So it means that if you're coming to spray this tomato, for instance, the chemicals that are going to be sprayed are only going to reach the leaves that are exposed on the outside. And those that are hidden inside, they are not going to be sprayed. And that could encourage pests to hide inside those leaves, and your work will be in vain. So whenever we've done pruning like this one here, you can see now how open it is, which means that after this pruning exercise, I'm going to I'm applying fertilizer at the same time. This is not the best way to manage fertilizer, but we have to start from somewhere. We start small and we grow big. So this is a small start we are having. But the most important thing is that I'm using fertilizer. This is CN to boost the production. So I'm applying the fertilizer as soon as I'm done pruning, because the next thing I'm going to do is going to be sprayed. They're going to be sprayed with fungicide and pesticide, and also with foliar, and then watered in the evening, and we expect that this production is going to be bumper. And so that is one of the reasons why we do pruning. Another reason why we do pruning is because some leaves can grow so big and tall and old, and they attach themselves to the soil. I'm using this again as an example. You can see these leaves here. They're touching the ground. When they're touching the ground, it means they expose this plant to pests and diseases that are in the soil. And so by cutting them off, we are minimizing the exposure and the contact that the plant has with the soil, which in most cases bears these devastating pests in the soil, and also the diseases. All the diseases that affect our crops, they emerge from the soil, many of them. Unless a farmer has brought them from another farm by foot. That's why when you go to serious farms, you realize that there's a footpath that you have to step onto before you enter into the farm. That is to ensure that there is biosafety in the farm, to minimize entry of pests and diseases, pest eggs it could be, and diseases into your farm. And so when leaves are in touch with the soil, they expose this plant to diseases. And tomatoes are very vulnerable to diseases. In 1 second, you come to the farm is good, the leaves are green, the production is good, like you can see the fruits all over this farm. But the second week you come, you find that all the leaves are withered. They wither so fast. In a day you can come and you can get so disappointed. And as a farmer now, to ensure that this doesn't happen, you can prune the leaves like this one. You can come and cut them. Someone is already asking, what are you using to cut? This is a scalpel. Yes, it is sterilized. It's sterilized, and that's how it's supposed to be. And there are a few things when it comes to the tool you are using. Actually, I'm supposed to use the pruning shears and a sharp knife. But I'm using this because I wanted to do it now and today. And the easiest gadget I could get on my hand one was this one. Sometimes I say, use what you have. If you're going to wait to have what you don't, it may take you time, and the crops are not waiting for tomorrow. They want the care today. And so I'm using a scalpel to cut the extra leaves and the branches that I'll find here. Also, while pruning, you also get the benefit of finding other suckers. Let me call them suckers that you can go and plant elsewhere, and they'll grow and become big. For example, I've just pruned this from this mother plant, and this is a plant that when planted will grow and will mature to become as big as the mother itself. So there's no waste here. The only thing that you're going to drop here when you prune is the leaves themselves, but other than the leaves, these branches, these shoots are mature and ready to be transplanted somewhere else to be taken care of, and they'll grow. The good thing about tomatoes is that when you look at tomato stem, you see that there are things that looks like hairs. Yes, they are hairs because they are on the stem, but when you put these plants, when you plant them in the soil, this branch is going to develop roots from the very hairs that you are seeing. So these are many root system. And when you're planting tomatoes, I'll encourage you that you maximize on the area that the roots are going to germinate. For instance, if I'm going to transplant this, don't transplant it on a shallow soil just like this. No, ensure you've taken it as deep as you can so that it can develop strong and numerous roots for maximum absorption of nutrients. So that is another benefit of pruning. You also get new plants that you can use out of this one. So if I have, for example, here we have around 150 stems. From these 150, if I get 2 from each, then it means that's around 300. Plus what we have here is around 400. So it means that there's multiplication, but that is not how we'll be producing throughout. So that is just to ensure that that season is well maximized. That's another reason why we do pruning. Another reason why we do pruning is to give the plant a desired shape. When you are pruning, you reduce the excessive leaves that are in the plant, and also when you leave the plant, it looks more beautiful than it was before. So aesthetically, pruning also helps to give the plant the desired shape. And lastly, it also helps us to know and to see the fruits clearly. When we prune, for example, now I can count the number of fruits that I have. And if someone is to take a fruit, for example, like this big one, I'll know there was once a big tomato down there. Where has it gone? But if you leave it as bushy as this, they are hidden here. Someone can harvest your crops and you will not even notice. So it also gives you a clean picture of what is going on in the farm, and it also helps you to have the aesthetic view or aesthetic beauty of the farm. So those are the reasons why we do pruning here. And so pruning is very important. And not only plants need pruning. You realize that pruning goes also to our own lives. We have to prune parts that we don't need in our lives. That those traits and characters that are not beneficial to us. As we prune the crops, we learn from the crops that something that is not of use needs to be removed. It should not be attached to the good plant that is growing. You are not bad. It is only that there's a trait or a branch in you that is wrong, or it is rotting, and so it's going to bring diseases. That is what you need to remove from yourself. So we learn from nature that pruning is a good exercise when it comes to maximizing the production. Here we look at tomatoes, but in our own lives we also realize that we also need to prune the aspects of our lives that are not beneficial in any way. There are many things that we do and we are attached to. And unless we prune them, they're not going to fall off. If I'm going to wait, for example, for these old dirty leaves to pluck themselves out of this plant, they are not going to do that. They are still going to remain attached to the plant. And the longer they stay there, the more burden they bring. And the more burden they bring, the more they lower the production. And the more they lower the production, the less benefit it has to the farmer. And so is on life. Whatever is not useful to ourselves, but we're attached to, continue to derail us, continue to pull us down by overweighing us down, but not adding any value to our life itself. So I encourage you that as you prune your crops, also remember to prune your own life and to remove the parts that are not beneficial so that production can be maximized. Thank you so much for viewing this video. I encourage you, those who have not subscribed, to please subscribe to this channel, GrowTech, and also continue watching our videos. There's still more to come. There's another one that is coming soon on steel crops. And so keep watching and keep coming back so that I keep feeding you as you feed me with views on how we can improve our lives and increase food production in our country. Thank you so much for your time. Have a good day and take care of yourself.